Hello there ladies and gentlemen, Sigval here and welcome back to another video. Rise of Krypton is back and we're going to start this video on a very positive note because first of all we're going to take a look at some fights from my main account. But we're not, we're going to get to my secondary account in the second half of the video, and over there things are going to get a little bit ugly, but first let's look at the positives, for me at the very least. Not gonna lie, I do hate from the bottom of my heart Rise of Krypton Soul Raid. I think it's the worst Soul Raid, it's one of the worst things that happened to this game, but at the same time, bro, my beta club is at level 8 and I could use some materials to upgrade it for my main account. So on my main account, as far as my main account goes, I'm not mad that Rise of Krypton is back, I was actually looking forward to it. As far as everything else goes, I hate this and I hope I never see this again, but until I get my beta club to level 10, bro, that's gonna help out a bit my main account. Not gonna lie in that regard, I still hate it, but it's useful to an extent. So here in the first one we have Beta Club on Killflan Sockman and Sword of Salvation on Raven against Brainiac. I do have Sword of Sin as well, and Sword of Sin is far more reliable and far more efficient when it comes to not allowing certain characters to generate power, but I went with Sword of Salvation because with Sword of Salvation we can do this fight in a more controlled environment, because Boss Brainiac's thing is going to basically be that he gets huge amounts of armor the less power he has, and if he reaches max power he can one-shot your whole team with a super move. But there's a way around it. So we use the Sword of Salvation to power drain him at the start of the fight, and now since we don't have Sword of Sin, we can do specials on him without power draining him. With Raven, we just have to not do basic attack hits. That's the most efficient way for me to do this fight. Yeah, if you don't have Beta Club, this strategy is totally useless to you. You don't have to have Sword of Salvation, you can kind of keep him at bay until you do the King Super move with Raven basic attack hits, that should be enough for you. By the way, I have Beta Club at level 8, Kryptonite Spear at level 5, and level 8 Sword of Salvation for this fight specifically, and there we go, Brainiac got one shot. Oh boy, quite a difficult fight, not gonna lie. So, yeah, thankfully the rewards were absolutely amazing. Like, look at this, we got Master Certificate Woman, and we got Amulet of Metahuman. Amazing stuff, I am totally speechless, I no longer hate the Soul Raid. So yeah, moving on to Boss Firestorm. So I was really curious how far I can push this team, because for other people in other Soul Raids, this team is able to one-shot 1.8 billion fights, but keep in mind those people have a Mr. Freeze that's far higher star rating than 3 stars. With my 3-star Mr. Freeze, he's going to heavily underperform. Like, Mr. Freeze, if you do have Beta Club, if you don't have Beta Club, he's going to be shit regardless for the most part. But if you do have Beta Club, he's the most dependent character in the game for higher star rating, and he's going to perform heavily better the higher star rating he has. So I wanted to see that if in this Soul Raid, where I can actually dedicate all my 3 artifact slots to giving him passive attack, he can reach that point. He can get 2 billion damage and they're close to that amount. So for we have a level 8 Beta Club, we have a level 5 Kryptonite Spear, and we have a level 8 Kryptonite Ring. We're not the Kryptonite Ring, I think it's either middle tier or bottom tier in terms of passive stats, so it's not gonna be that much attack. But yeah, my Mr. Freeze, we're going to speed things up a bit here. My Mr. Freeze is sadly not going to really do much damage regardless. I mean, look, he's gonna do a lot of damage. He's gonna do most likely 1 billion damage, but I can't stress enough how far better he is at higher star rating and how far more efficient it is at that point. So yeah, 70 mil dot a second, it's certainly a privileged amount of damage to complain about. I'm fully aware of that, but this team could go so much further if I had a higher star rating on Mr. Freeze, and I think that will be my priority for my main account, getting more stars on Mr. Freeze. So yeah, we'll definitely see how that goes. But for now, it's going to be quite far from a full health one-shot for the most part. And yeah, I think here Classic Wonder Woman is going to be the best choice, because Vixen's attack is not going to matter that much, because we have so much attack from the passive stats. Okay, so here we're going to split things up with the League of Anarchy team. I'm so happy that I'm able to use the Dark Metal cards again on the League of Anarchy Harley. And for the other artifacts, we're going to have a level 5 Kryptonite Spear on Arkham Knight Batman and the level 8 Beta Club on EPI for the passive stats. You might be like, Sigvald, why don't you equip your Beta Club on your Harley? Because it's garbage. It's garbage. Like, look, I fully understand people hating on Beta Club. I personally think that this game would be a far better game if that artifact did not exist. But when I get comments in videos being like, how does your League of Anarchy do so much dot damage? And then you have a random person who most likely didn't even watch the video who's like, Beta Club. I'm gonna be like, sir, do you have some mental disability? Is there something wrong with your brain? That's not how the game functions. Beta Club is simply garbage on League of Anarchy. It's a broken artifact that most likely should have never been introduced into the game, but it doesn't work on League of Anarchy. You're 100% wrong with that, and you're just wrong, my dudes. You're just hating while being wrong, and I hate that the most. But yeah, we're done with that rant, so let's move on to another rant. We have Boss Superman over here on the secondary account, and I can't express enough my frustration. You remember when last time Rise of Krypton was released? It was kind of a placeholder for on ISO raids, and it was only live for a week. And guess where I was? Against Boss Superman. That was before Nora Snowglobe, and on the secondary account the only team that was doing damage was the Kim-Flan Sakomen team, and I had only 1 week to kill this dude. Do you know how that went? At the end of the 1 week, while playing every single one of my fights, this dude remained alive with something like 40 million health? Boy, that was one of the most frustrating experiences I've ever had with this game, and I hate this dude from the bottom of my heart. But yeah, first up, I forget about his passive that makes him avoid the first special you throw out. It's gonna be fine since the avoided special, it's not going to count as 1% health side of things that we're going to miss. But the percentage health damage is not gonna be that great. We're going to let Dr. Fate tank that super move because I don't want King out there yet, or at the very least the clones out there yet, because I wanted the clones to have maximum amount of energy so they can at the very least get out 1/3 special, at the very least, at the bare minimum. I'm going to attempt to let King die here. We get the clone in there. Third special, there we go. That's already better than expected. It would be amazing if I can get another one. Gonna back off a bit and use the special one. This is yet again a very similar situation with the Green Lantern situation, where you can't really easily find an opening with the clones. You have to kind of guess it to an extent, and I could just yeet out the third special, and I did that there. He's vulnerable when he does a jump attack, because after a jump attack he'll use a special usually, and yeah, there he blocked that, so Fat Rip managed to block there with the clone. And here, look at that! Tell me, how does his feeble strongman hands, I mean they're not feeble, but they seem short, how does this dude with his short hands have more attack range than my Kim-Flan Sakomen with a fucking 2-meter long trident? That makes absolutely no sense, my man. It makes no sense. That clone shouldn't have gotten hit there, or at the very least should have hit him before. Bro, I hate this dude so much. So yeah, the clone, the first clone did well enough doing 2/3 specials, but the second clone made up for it, doing none of them. So yeah, Fat Rip in that regard. Going to try to squeeze in some damage with Kim-Flan Sakomen. But yeah, it's going to be dumpster fire damage regardless, because he's got maxed out armor. And he's got crit resistance. You might be like, why didn't I choose Dark Metal cards? Not for this team. Not for this team. And I don't think it will be that useful for many teams. But yeah, that's about it for this fight. Okay, so honestly, let's stop a bit from the fights and take a moment to take a look at this dude's description, because like the king with Nora Snowglobe was like a given that we're going to use that, but now I'm wondering what team to use next, and boy, look at this thing. There's buffs into Dot, okay. Has extra high defense, amazing. Resists crit, great. Resists armor pierce, great. Has dodge resistance, amazing. Is immune to stun and freeze. In addition, he also has defensive measures, preventing him to take excessive damage from any single attack. Oh boy, I forgot how much of a piece of shit this dude was, my dude. Also, I was like thinking, how do I make my League of Anarchy work here? Because now we have Dark Metal cards, so we can, in theory, bypass the crit resistance. But the problem is, I don't have Armor Pierce on basic attack hits, and he's immune to Armor Pierce on basic attack hits, so we can't get rid of the defense without adding a Classic Superman in here. But if we add a Classic Superman in here, then we're not going to get the dodge resistance removal from Harley's passive, so we can do this. But if we do this, he's still going to be immune to stuns in case we try to use Harley alone. Boy, it just keeps getting better and better, this dude, and there's no way we can squeeze a Raven in there. That's literally impossible with this team. By the way, we're on my secondary account, so I don't have Beta Club and no gears on Raven, but quick tip for the pay-to-win side of things, this team one-shots here if you have the Sword of Sin and Beta Club. So basically, you put Harley in there to remove his dodge resistance with her passive, you put Sword of Sin on Brainiac to constantly remove the defense with specials, and you put Beta Club on Raven and use Raven as a damage dealer. Okay, so in regards with the Batman Ninja team, I'm going to be a little bit privileged in that regard because I do have the LexCorp Warsuit on this account. So basically the LexCorp Warsuit is, to an extent, the most pay-to-win artifact. Not really. We got Beta Club. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But this artifact was made with the most pay-to-win reason in the game. So basically you have two teams in the game that are going to rely on damage buffs. Those being the Batman Ninja team and the Black Manta team, and they're going to stack endless buffs on them. Stacking lethal attack damage and for Manta stacking basic attack hits. And Injustice Mobile was like, with introducing the LexCorp Warsuit, well, this makes you not get debuffed, and Collector vs Superman is going to apply a debuff on you that will give you dot damage for each buff you receive, and each buff will get removed. So basically what they wanted to tell you was like, you pay money until you gamble for LexCorp Warsuit, or the Batman Ninja team and the Black Manta team are going to not only deal absolutely no damage, but slowly, I mean, not that slowly actually, it's a pretty quick process actually, they're going to kill themselves while hitting the enemy. So yeah, this is the most fun artifact in the game in that regard. You basically, while you have it, it doesn't add too much to the teams. Like, you're not going to bypass his crit resistance or anything like that, but you're not killing yourself while hitting him, so that's great, I guess. But not having him makes those teams to an extent unusable. By the way, kind of quick advice, if you don't have the LexCorp Warsuit for the Batman Ninja team, get Robin out of the team, because you're not going to be able to get that lethal attack damage and you're only going to get constant dot damage. Put Dark Metal cards on Catwoman and put Vixen as the third character to get those buffs. That's going to be how you do it with no LexCorp Warsuit. And the third team is going to be kind of a way to attempt to use to some extent the League of Anarchy. I don't think I'm going to give them Classic Superman because next paper refresh I want to try to see how well it will go if I go with Classic Superman for the Collector of Words team and put Dark Metal cards on Collector and stack some lethal attack chance to Brainiac. That might deal some decent amount of damage, maybe more than this team. But yeah, basically for this team, as I explained in the previous rant about this dude, I can't stun him, and I need Harley in there to deal any dot damage because she removes dot resistance, and I need Dark Metal cards on Harley to be able to crit, and I need Classic Superman to reduce the defense. So that's as far as it goes. This is kind of the best you're going to get out of League of Anarchy. I mean, you could get far more out of this team to an extent if you had a built Raven with Sword of Sin to help you reduce the defense, but that's entering heavily pay-to-win territory, so if you have that, maybe you also have a Beta Club and you're going to use the previously specified Harley, Raven, Brainiac team and one-shot this dude. That would be amazing for you. Also, on this account I don't have Deathstroke or Batman Holafs, and at this point I think it goes without saying that you should definitely use those characters, and those characters are going to make your life far easier. But keep in mind, be very careful with Deathstroke, because that man is going to get dot damage for each passive buff that he applies. Does that impact his damage in no way, shape or form? Well, yes, if he randomly dies before he does everything he needs to do, but if he doesn't, enjoy carefully that it doesn't impact his damage. And yeah, it will be fun with the clones. By the way, a little bit of a bug that I encountered in the first fight Kim Flan Sakomen, they did, I think, a coding mistake where they did an input for how much reduced his first special is going to be and how less that's going to cost compared to normal. Because I think that's initially programmed to be a third special of Armored Superman, and they reduce it all the way to 1 power bar, and we have Horrific Scarecrow who's supposed to increase the power bar cost to 2 by 2 power bars. So normally that would cost 3 power bars, it only costs 2. So yeah, a little bit of a coding error there, my dudes. Maybe hire better people at that. Though I think the people that worked on Rise of Krypton at this point don't work for this company anymore, because as far as I'm aware, they're constantly hiring freelancers to work on this game, sadly. So yeah, this team is not doing amazing. It's not doing crazy amounts of damage, but look, usually how much I used to get previous to Dark Metal cards and previous to using this team out of League of Anarchy was like 16 mils, so this is definitely going to be an improvement in that regard, but again, not sure I'm going to keep giving them Classic Superman. But yeah, all that being said, thanks so much for watching. All that being said, I'll hopefully see you on the next one. Like the video if you liked it, dislike it if you dislike it, and goodbye.
This is the future.